Welcome to the SolidCAM University channel. This video's topic is the Toolpath Editor. So the Toolpath Editor is actually a way to edit the data points in your toolpath after you've created it. So for instance, let's take a look at this toolpath that I have on screen here. You can see that this is the one that was originally created, and I've actually created a second version of it where it's been modified, where I've actually just added a little bit of an extension on one of the passes, and that's indicated by that little symbol there. That indicates that I have edited it using the Toolpath Editor. So how do you actually get to the Toolpath Editor? Well, you right-click on any one of these toolpaths, go to Toolpath, and then Edit. What that does is it opens up essentially a wireframe version of the toolpath, as we see on screen here. And you get the functionality you see on the top of the screen there. So just going through this from the right to left, these are just the different views. So similar views that you've seen in the Solid Verify, where we can see it from the XZ plane, an isometric view, and then the different views available through the part. If we like to zoom in on a certain part, for instance, if I'd like to maybe do a full screen, if I'd like to focus, zoom in and out, basically just click and drag my mouse and zoom by a box. Essentially that simple. If I wanted to show the coordinate system, I have that ability there, so I can see exactly which direction my coordinate system is for my toolpath. If I like to hide and show target, if I had any fixtures on this part model, and also undo and redo any one of these options I'm about to show you here. So those are just the really basic toggles up here. The main point of the Toolpath Editor is these guys right here. So while we're looking at the wireframe, you can actually see that I can snap on different points or different line segments of the toolpath itself. Now, what that allows us to do is actually trim or edit the toolpath by points, by segments. So starting from the left, we can see that we have the ability to delete the point. So as soon as I click on that icon, it's looking for me to choose one of the points I'd like to delete. So let's say we just choose that one. And I want to just do that one single point. If you take a look at the icon here, it kind of gives you an idea what's going to happen. As soon as I click apply, that point is removed from that toolpath. So instead of going up and then over, it goes right from that point to that point. So that just removes that from the toolpath. Basically, I'm just editing the data points and the movements of the tool. To undo that, just click undo. You can see that it undoes it. Next is modify points. So again, I'll do that same point. But this time, when I click on it, it gives me the coordinates of that point, and now I can modify where that point is. So for whatever reason, maybe I want it to retract up, but maybe not that much at that one point. So instead of going to a Z coordinate of 1 inch, I'll set it to a Z coordinate of ½ inch, click apply, and you can see that the movements of the tool are the same, except now instead of going to Z equals 1, it goes to Z equals ½ And again, we'll just undo that. Next is delete from point to point. So this works very similar to the point-to-point that you find inside of your chain selection window, where I want to basically just take from, let's say, that point there to that point there. And you can see that it highlights it for me. So along the chain, I can tell it what I'd like it to do. Now, in this case, it's really just going to delete that segment and then reconnect them with a line, either a direct line or a line to the clearance plane. So let's see what that does. Basically, what I've done is I've deleted that one line segment, and then because I've told it that I like to use some lead in, lead out, it actually added those in there. I'm going to hit cancel. Now let's do that again, but with something a little more drastic. So we'll go from this point here to maybe a point a little further along the chain. And now you can see that it highlights all that in white. So that bit from that point to that point, I will be deleting from the chain. Let's say we just add a direct line from those 2 points. Click apply, and you can see now I've taken all of that out, and it goes from that point in the chain to that point in the chain, a direct line movement. hit cancel. I'll just undo that. So trim toolpath actually will trim the bit of the toolpath that I indicate. So for instance, let's just choose a point somewhere in the middle. I have the ability to either trim the toolpath from the start to that point, like so. So it goes from that start point right to the point that I told it. It trims all that bit out of there. Let me just do cancel and undo. Click that point once again. Let's say we go from the end of the chain to that point. So essentially, I'm telling SolidCAM that that is going to be my start point. So it goes across there, ends there, and does that little lead off. If we do the trim again to that point, this time though, we're going to trim by value. So what we're really doing here is we're trimming the bits of the code that have coordinates on the other side of this edge here. So for instance, let's say we do y value, a y value of, let's say, ½ inch. So anything more than a y value of ½ inch will be trimmed from the code. And that essentially means just all those passes on the side there. Remember, these are data points. So if those points don't exist there, there's no line movements there. We'll just do an undo on that one. The last of the editing that does any kind of deletion is delete segment. Now, delete segment is actually going to recalculate after I've deleted a segment. So let's say we just get rid of that segment right there. So I've actually removed that bit right there in that line. So it goes right from that point to that point. So I'm actually just removing a segment from the code, like so. Now you actually have the ability to add bits as well. So from here, you can see you can modify the range. And this one actually operates a little bit like the close corners that you find in the chain geometry selection window. What I mean by that is if I choose, let's say, these two lines here, so everything in there, I'm going to move the toolpath, let's say, by 1 inch in Y and -2 inches in X. What that does is it takes that line segment and adds those movements there. So 1 inch in Y and -2 in X. And now it just relinks that to that point there. So you're really just adding more geometry, more data points to your overall chain. And again, I'll just do an undo. And then the last of the options is insert points. Now this really is more like the point-to-point. You're actually getting the ability to add data points and resynchronize and recalculate, not resynchronize, but basically recalculate this toolpath. So again, we're going to choose some data points. Let's choose from that point to, let's say, this point right here. And then it brings up this little dialog here that says, do you want to insert new toolpath between those points? I'll say yes. So it automatically just trim the chain to go right from that point to that point. I also have the ability to add additional points. So if I wanted to, I could say, let's go to there, to there, to there, and then maybe go back to the final point. And then once I click on the Q key, again, it asks me, do you want to connect the last defined point of new toolpath with endpoint? I'll say yes. And now I've created a new chain, a new toolpath. Now this is a little crazy on this screen, but you can see the application here where I can actually re-edit and reorganize the toolpath based off of the geometry that I have on screen. And then once I've done so, I can click save, and then I save this edited toolpath. Any questions of this or anything else from SolidCAM, just give us a call at 1-866-975-1115, extension 2. You can send us your parts or your questions via the ticket system at solidcamsupport.com, and stay tuned to the rest of the videos on the YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.